Have you been looking for the ultimate workout split to help your athleticism? Well, I'm gonna give you just that today. Let's get to it. Hey there, Brandon Split here from Thirst Gym, and today I'm gonna walk you through what I think is the ideal workout training split for athletes. Now, I'm gonna preface this and say this is a generalization for most athletes. Certain sports may require different things, certainly, but in general, if you follow this template, I can guarantee you're going to be a better athlete, or if you work with athletes, it's going to help you with your athletes. First thing I want to make sure I'm very clear here on as well is that the number of days per week that you spend in the strength and conditioning room or in the gym is not going to be immediately dictating of how much progress you make, okay? I have athletes that make progress with 2 days a week, with 3 days a week, and then 4 days a week. So there is a good range of what is applicable for some athletes. You do have to figure out what works best for you. But in general, what I like is a 3 or a 4 day split, and we're gonna kind of talk about how you can manipulate those training days to get the most out of your weight room time and be a better athlete. Let's get into it. All right, the first thing I'm gonna start off here by saying is that for the most part, whether you're doing 3 days a week or 4 days a week, we're going to use a lower, upper, and full body split from our actual strength and conditioning sessions in general. Okay, so that's how we're going to split up our days and think about the way that we go about this. Now, with our lower body day, so our first day, I like to start off with linear acceleration or deceleration based drills for athletes. So this can be different sprinting variations, prowler pushes and sled pushes, working on deceleration, so getting low and stopping and working on those mechanics. You can drag sleds, you can do band resisted starts, anything that's gonna work on the first 5 to 10 yards of your acceleration phase of your running and or your deceleration phase. This is where you're gonna focus on what you need more as an athlete first. So if you need that first step, focus on the acceleration side first. If you are already fast and you need to work on pumping the brakes and stopping to be a better athlete, then work on the deceleration aspect. We're then gonna pair that with some kind of plyometric drill. So this can be a vertical jump, this can be a single leg jump, this can be hurdle hops. I like to make these vertical based jumps on this day as well, and we pair those together. So we're gonna sprint hard, jump high and often, and again, your jumping variation is gonna be what you need a little bit. So if you need to work on rate of force development, seated box jumps work great. If you need to work on being more springy, you can do different pogo variations or hurdle hop variations to work on the elasticity of what you're doing. From there, I then usually like to move into a clean of some kind. So you could do a hang clean, you could do a clean from blocks, you could do a clean plus a front squat, so you can do different complexes. Using a clean variation is another exercise that I like to do. With my time that I have with my athletes, we usually sprint, jump, and then clean in the same group. Well, it's not ideal, or we might even clean, sprint, jump. I kind of depend on the athlete, but I like to pair those 3 things together and then take ample rest. Well, it's not ideal. It does give me all my power development up front, but if you have the time to sprint and jump first and then go into your clean variation, that's what I would recommend. The next step is then going to be focusing on a squat heavy movement. So again, this can be up to you, depending on what you need. If you like to do the cleans and all those things, then I recommend doing front squats, different front squat variations in particular, back squats, box squats, single leg squats. Anything that's going to be a squatting variation is going to be a good thing that you can put here, okay? You want to push this hard and heavy. So you're going to want to do these for heavy sets of 3 to 5 reps and really push it on the weight side in that way to be a little bit of a slower movement. Then from there, we go into a single leg auxiliary work and any kind of side to side motion work and or abdominal work, okay? So we have 3 things that we can do here. So usually if I've done a squat variation, I'll usually go with a single leg hinge variation. So what I mean by that is we'll go with like a hand supported single leg dumbbell RDL, or we might go with an unsupported single leg dumbbell RDL, or a kickstand RDL. Any single leg hinge motion is gonna be great here. Then we move into either a hamstring specific exercise, a lateral lunge specific exercise, and or an abdominal exercise. So usually for me, I would like to pair this with an abdominal exercise, and then I can throw into the hamstring work at the end as well with like leg curls or glute ham raises or reverse hypers, what have you. And your abdominal work here can be whatever you want. Me personally, on my linear day like this, I like to do things like hanging leg raises or anything that gets my legs actually moving in deflection, because it's going to simulate more of the running gait that we worked on earlier in the session. So to recap that first session, sprint linearly or stop linearly, jump as high as you possibly can, either reactively or for just max height, a clean variation, a squat variation, a single leg hinge variation, abdominal and hamstring exercise, and there you've got your perfect lower body training session. All right, the next thing we got to do now is the upper body training session, and we're going to follow a very similar path here, but with our upper body. Now, I'll tell you that I usually like to give my athletes a little bit more on the upper body side because it's easier to recover from, but also those sessions generally move faster because you're not lifting as much weight as in like a squat or a deadlift, right? Or even a clean. So, in general, what I like to start off with is some kind of upper body power-based exercise. So this could be a plyometric push-up, this could be a barbell jerk, this could be a barbell push press, it could be a dumbbell jerk or dumbbell push press, you can use a landmine here. You could also use different med ball slam variations and rotational based throws. And this is gonna kind of come down to a little bit what you need as an athlete. But in general, if you're doing some kind of push press or jerk or a plyometric push-up in some kind of med ball variation, you're gonna be good here. So you just pick a weighted or explosive pushing exercise and then pair that with a med ball variation that mimics your sport to some degree, and that's gonna be good. You're gonna superset those, take eighth rest in between. Again, the key here is to move fast and explosively. On the jerks and the push presses, you can get them a little bit heavier, but in general, I like to teach my athletes to keep these a little bit on the lighter side and being explosive and focusing on that hip drive and driving the barbell up and as explosive as possible. Once we've got that done, now we move into our main pressing exercise. Usually this is what you would think of as your bench press, your incline bench press, close grip bench press, floor press, you name any kind of horizontal heavy pressing, this is where this is gonna go. You're going to push this hard and heavy again for hard sets of 2, 3, maybe even 5 repetitions, trying to build overall upper body strength. From there, I usually, from a time perspective, like to save this with a rowing variation. So I pair this with a 2-arm rowing variation. This can be a row machine, this could be a chest supported dumbbell row, this could be inverted rows, this could be a barbell row, bent over dumbbell rows, whatever you can do to get some horizontal pulling in. In general, I like to lean with something that's a little bit supported or where we're not having to fry the low back to maintain that position because we are bench pressing. We want our bench press to be as strong as well. So we really don't want our low back to come into the equation. We want to just focus on the upper body doing majority of the work, and we can get that low back work later in other sessions as well. Once we've done that, then I like to go into more of a vertical pressing and a vertical pushing. So you could do an incline dumbbell bench press, you could do seated dumbbell overhead presses, you could do a barbell overhead press, you could do a landmine press. Anything you're gonna do to press overhead is gonna be great. This is gonna be accessory work. So when there's more in our hypertrophy ranges of 8 to 10 reps, either per side or together. And then we're gonna pair that with a vertical pulling exercise. Usually on this day, I like to go with more of like a lat pull down or some kind of row machine that's vertical, but you could also do chin-ups and pull-ups are very viable here as well. Again, aiming for those hypertrophy ranges more so than anything else. Once that's done, we do some general fluff and buff. Okay, for me, that's gonna be shoulders, biceps, triceps, any extra abdominal work that you wanna do, 2 to 3 sets of just getting a ton of blood flow into the shoulders, the upper back, and the arms. You pick what you want to do. I'm not going to dictate this because at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters all that much. The goal is just to get a ton of blood into the upper body and focus on the areas where you need to focus more in terms of bringing up maybe your bench press or your chin-ups or your pull-ups or your upper body development. And then just again, 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 20 reps, get a massive pump, and then there's your upper body day. All right, for our day 3, this is our full body day. And for most people, this is gonna be probably the hardest day on the schedule. While the lower body day is definitely tough, this is gonna be tough because we're gonna have the whole body integrated in everything that we're doing. There's a couple different routes that we can take this, so I'm gonna give you some options. But in general, what I do, again, I start off with something fast and explosive. So this for me usually is gonna be the day that I like to do my broad jumps or horizontal jumping, or my lateral jumping, so lateral bounds, so we can do lateral bounds or just lateral hurdle hops or any kind of change of direction based plyometric work, rotational work also works there as well. We can also do a change direction based day. So we had our linear and deceleration in terms of our running on day 1. Day 3 with that total body day is where I like to put that change of direction mechanics. So again, we can do different lateral shuffle variations. We can do 5, 10, 5 drills. We can work on shuffling and stopping with different med balls and different objects. We can also just work on general mechanics, right? We can focus on just making sure that when we go to actually stop and plant, we're in a good spot. All those are all different variations that you can use with your speed and agility aspect here on the front end. Now, the reason I'm not gonna tell you what to do is because if you're not a change of direction athlete, then doing change of direction work is probably a waste of time to helping you get better at what you need to do. Maybe if you like to do it because it's fun, that's fine. But in general, if you're not changing direction, you can immediately scrap that from the board and replace that with something else. In general, jumping for distance and jumping sideways are going to be two big things that I like to put here. If they are an athlete that does require a change of direction, then we input that change of direction based work, okay? So those are the three things that we go after, and if we don't need one of them, we just take one away and kind of condense that. Again, you can do this again for 3 to 5 reps on most of those plyometric based drills for 3 to 5 sets. Then we move into our strength-based exercise, and here's where you kind of have, I personally have some conflicting ideas here, okay? If the snatch is important to you and you believe the snatch is going to develop your power as an athlete more so than anything else, then I would say you should be doing snatch-based work here. So snatch pulls or just full snatches from the ground or from the blocks. I personally think snatches are fantastic exercise. However, for me, the athletes that I get early on, I ditch the snatch to go for the deadlift first, working on proper hinging mechanics first before we go into the snatch. So if you got more of an advanced athlete, you have snatching underneath your belt, snatch would be a good exercise for your B tier or that second area of exercise focusing on your general strength and athleticism. If you're not doing the snatch or you're not interested in doing it or you're a beginner to intermediate and you're not gotten to the snatch yet, focusing on a hinge-based exercise that's very heavy is the next go-to. So this is where you're gonna have your Romanian deadlift, your sumo deadlift, your conventional deadlift, your hex bar or trap bar deadlift. Any variations of those or doing them off of blocks or against bands or chains are all fantastic things to develop your general strength. With the deadlift, I usually like to push my reps a little bit on the lower side, my weight a little bit on the higher side. Sets of 1 to 3 are kind of my normal. As I'm teaching athletes, I'll start with more 5s and 6s, but I dwindle those down into lower rep ranges to really develop pushing through the floor to create as much strength as possible going through the floor, whatever variation that might be, sumo, deadlift, conventional, doesn't matter. Again, if you like the snatch, same thing, perform some pretty heavy reps here, sets of 1, 2, and 3 reps, and focus on pulling underneath that barbell and being as explosive as you can. So pick whatever variation that you want there. Then we're gonna move in to our auxiliary work. Usually here's where I like to pick a big upper body pulling exercise. So for me, usually this is a chin-up variation. So that's why I said on the day 2, I usually don't do a chin-up there. I usually do like a lat pull-down or something similar. I'll do more chin-ups on that secondary day. I think it's a fantastic exercise. Chin-ups and pull-ups should be on almost every single program across the board. And then I pair that with a unilateral lower body exercise. In more cases than not, if I've not done a lateral lunge variation on day 1, I'll put a lateral lunge variation here. If I did do a lateral lunge variation on that day 1, then here I will put a single leg exercise like a knee dominant exercise, like a reverse lunge or a forward lunge or a Bulgarian split squat, something like that that's going to really let me load up the lower body from a single leg perspective. So you got some options here depending on what you did on your day 1. It will let you know what you need to do on your day 3. So you're just gonna do the opposite. You wanna make sure if you don't wanna double dip basically. So just make sure that you're getting both of those. Now, if you're not a change of direction athlete, then you can make a case for doing more Bulgarians and things like that. But in general, that's what I usually pair together. That's usually a very tough superset. And then I move into the true auxiliary work from there. This is where I get really specific with my athletes on that day 3. Usually there's gonna be more abdominal and trunk-based work for sure. And then we usually start to look at some extra upper fluff if they need more size upstairs, or if something on the posterior chain is lacking, that's where we go after that. Get more glutes and hamstring work. So that could be where your reverse hypers, your glute ham raises, your Nordics, your leg curls, reverse sled dragging, or any sled dragging variations fit really great here. Any kind of cable or auxiliary-based work also works great here. So lots of different things that you can put down in there. But again, usually this is going to be, again, fluff and buff, 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 20 repetitions, depending upon what you're doing exercise-wise. But it should be a very quick day after you've done those chin-ups and that single leg work. And then you're ready for the 4th day if you choose to do that. Okay, now we're gonna talk about that 4th day. And again, this is the day that I think can truly be optional. Many times it's hard to get in the gym 4 days a week for many athletes. So again, it's why I think it's more of an optional day. And for me, I call this the athlete day. Some people might call it an impulse day, a plyometric day, a speed day, whatever you want to call it. I just like to call it an athlete day. But what I like to do on this day, if at all possible, is take a little bit from my plyometrics I did during the week and scale those down if I know this is going to be a 4th day. And on that 4th day, all we're going to do is focus on being an athlete, okay? There will be no or very minimal weightlifting based exercises here. We're going to dip into all the things that you need as an athlete. This is where you can do some very low impulse based things. So you can do a lot of pogos, you can do a lot of A skips, you can do a lot of change of direction mechanic based work. You can work on your deceleration based stuff. You pick 2 to 3 speed agility movements that you need to work on, okay? Whatever that might be, that's where you put into this training block first. Then we implement a couple of plyometrics. Here's where I recommend you pick 2 plyometrics that you need to work on. If you need to improve your vertical jump, maybe some weighted jumps, maybe some more box jumps, maybe some more hurdle hops. You pick what you need there. If you need to work on linear speed, maybe you do some more broad jumps. If you need to work on your change of direction, maybe you do more lateral based change of direction plyometrics to implement in your program to help you with that. So again, pick what you need to focus on first there, and that's gonna give you your second block of training. And then after that, we just do some general body weight stuff. So this could be things like push-ups, inverted rows, dips, extra abdominal work, anything that you can do with body weight. The goal here is just to make sure it's a quick and overall fast session, but that you can also do it just about anywhere. So if you are doing stuff at home, this could be an at-home day, this could be an outside day. That's the best way that I can describe this day of what you do. Now, if you want to use a little bit of weights here and there, like maybe you want to do some suitcase carries or some sled-based work, I think that's fine. But in general, when I'm thinking about this day, I'm thinking about how can we get in and out in about 30 to 45 minutes, check the boxes that we need to improve upon as an athlete, and then get out. Because the other 3 days have already probably been pretty challenging. Our lower body has definitely probably taken a beating. So we're using this to supplement and fill those gaps on that athlete day, just so we can bridge the gap to help us get better and hyper focus on specific things that can help us individually. And so there you have it. There's my perfect training split for any kind of athlete, giving you a way that you can plug and play and figure out what works best for you as an athlete. Now, if you have a specific question about your own training, let me know in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to give you some free tips, help you along the way, guide you in the right direction so we can help you be a better athlete. If you happen to take one awesome thing away from today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you at the next video.